to Lunatic Astrology. I am your astrologer. Yes, Lori Lothian. We're talking about the big conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter in 2020, December 21st, called the Conjunction of Kings, also called the Great Conjunction. And it's not just about December, guys. It's about the next 20 years for you personally, where this will initiate a kind of a squeaky chair sea change in your entire life, a whole new area where things are going to take off for you, where things are going to grow, where things are going to expand. We'll talk about that when we get to the all signs portion. All right. But in the meantime, for the collective, this is the first time that Jupiter and Saturn have come together in Aquarius. Okay. For 800 years, it was 1226. And that was during a cycle from the 1200s to the mid 1405, I believe, where the conjunction of these two planets meeting in the sky together was happening in those 200 years in air signs. And so we won't see, so now we were beginning a 200-year air sign cycle. So number one, it's a big deal for the whole world. We're now going to see Saturn, the Lord of space and time and karma and structure and boundaries between things, meeting with Jupiter, his son in ancient mythology. They never necessarily got along, but they can do some good work together. Jupiter expansion, growth, beneficence, luck, opportunity, optimism, faith, and hope. Now they're coming together and they're going to join in the sky. That's what I've done there. Those are the two planets. Those are cartoons for them. Just to give you an idea, they're going to be so close together in the heavens on December 21st at 0 degrees of Aquarius that it will seem as if they are one. You know, they will visibly be as one. Technically, I think you're better off seeing it. I looked at some astronomy before the 21st, if you want to actually get a look at them in the sky. But the idea here is that this is a rare co-joining, and we're going to be going into why it's so rare. And I'm going to just, I'm going to share the astrology with you. And then I'm going to go into the astronomy, the astrology, and what you can expect. Now, before I go ahead, let me just say, each of you in the all signs will find this is about a whole changing of the guard in some area of your life, a huge, renewal that'll last for 20 years. But for the world, for the collective, this really represents as well a sea change into Aquarius, where we're going to see Aquarian themes predominate for the next 20 years and over the next 200, air themes, communications, community, technology, freedom, mental things, ideas predominating over the next 200 years. So let's get started. And just before I share this, this chart with you, I want to say one thing. It's a bit of a mixed bag when you think of history, right? Because if you think about the era in which this happened and the air signs were replicating, all the conjunctions kings were happening in Gemini and Libra and Aquarius, it was a time of both goodness and badness, as all things are, mixed bag on the planet. To give you an example, the 1300s in Spain was a time of great spiritual renaissance. And so that, 1200 to 1400, that stuff was happening where scholars from different religions and the Muslim, the Hebrew, the Jewish, the Christian tradition were all powwowing in places like Toledo, Spain, and really getting down with sharing wisdom and knowledge. So the idea of that air, the ideas, the sharing of wisdom, the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of new communities and forming broader communities was happening. At the same time, you had other really bad things going down, like the Inquisition and for instance, the Knights Templar were slaughtered, like 15,000 of them in the early 1300s by a Inquisition, a church who believed that they were heretics and they were evil and they were rotten and bad. And Joan of Arc also burned at the stake somewhere around that time. And also the Black Plague hit Europe as well, the bubonic plague in the 1300s, I think 1340s, 1350s, 1360s. Those accompanied air sign transits of the co-joining of Jupiter with Saturn. So there's a mixed bag. We can all expect some good things and some not so good things to come up from all of this. The other thing I'm going to say before I show you the flat chart, and then we do all signs, is to understand that this is a conjunction happening at a declination that makes it special. It's not that they're not coming together, like they always come together every 20 years. So like, let's use the context for a second, all righty? 20 years ago, Jupiter and Saturn came together in 2020. And they did so in the earth sign Taurus, because we're coming off a 200-year earth cycle, right? So this has been earth and earth and earth for 200 years. Industrial revolution, material prosperity, the industrial capitalist machinery, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, whatever. Troubles with the climate and the earth herself, making a revolution around agriculture, industrial and agricultural revolutions all happen, even like GMOs and, dealing with food in a new way, and different farming practices all happened during the last 200 years of the earth sign conjunction of kings. But we also had a potato famine in the same time frame, and people starving to death and moving to the United States from Scotland or Ireland because of famine. So, it's a mixed bag in the earth sign behind us, just like it'll be mixed bag in the next 200 years as this conjunction repeats its cycle through the signs of air. But the declination is the idea that this is coming together on the ecliptic, which is meaning that it's really coming together in a position where it's particularly close to the path of the sun, that the path of the sun seems to take around the earth. Of course, it's the earth moving, but the idea is that that line that the sun takes is the ecliptic, and that is exactly where this is happening on the ecliptic, which makes it more powerful, more special, and maybe more intense in the visibility of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at what it looks like in a two-dimensional chart and see what we can find. All right, share screen. Okay, I'm hoping I'm sharing the right one. I have other charts up here. Yep. Okay, if only it would open all the way, that would be great. Okay. I don't think it's going to. I don't know why. So let me just stop the share and try again. I think I shared the wrong version of it. So sorry, guys. This is what happens. Tech issues. That's the one that it won't maximize. So let's try the next one. I have no idea what you guys are seeing, but I'm not seeing anything. So hang in there. All right. Let me just close out a few other non-essential screens behind me so that whatever I just did doesn't happen again. All right. I want to share it again. There's a few cool things that if I get this to work, you'll see what I'm looking at. All right. Hallelujah. All right. So here we go. This happens to be the sky, as it exactly will be when this conjunction happens. And this is set for Vancouver, Canada, because that's where I'm going to be at the time of the conjunction, which is another whole point, guys. Yes, you want to know where this happens in terms of your chart, like where does zero Aquarius sit? Where's all this juice happening for you? However, I will also say, where are you on the planet when it happens? So for me, sitting in Vancouver, Canada, visiting from Montreal during the holidays, it literally will look like it's happening, okay, relative to my location in my 10th house. And why that's useful and why you might want to see an astrologer is that conjunction of kings will inform your life for the next 20 years, not only by the sign, but where are you when it happens? Because for me, my natal first house is Aquarius, and now it overlaps the 10th house of career. My house of home is Taurus, and now it overlaps my house of my identity. I can almost pretty well give you a lot of delineations about location, time stamping over the event as it applies to your natal chart. So consider doing a reading with me. I'm going to put a little Christmas special up called the Saturn Jupiter Conjunction Quickie, and it's 30 minutes, and you'll find that link in the description box below. And I will be doing these as pre-recorded sessions and sending them to you as a gift, little stocking stuffer for yourself. So check it out below. I love doing those little fun pre-recordeds. I only open up a certain number of spots. My clients' roster is booked out to the end of the year, but I do enjoy doing these little mini gift readings that are pre-recorded. All right, so moving on past that little sales pitch, consider this. These guys are coming together, Saturn and Jupiter at 0 degrees of Aquarius, which already speaks of new beginnings, fresh starts, resets, right? 0, very powerful degree, the 0 number. And it's happening in that ecliptic line where the sun travels close, close to the earth, very visible, very special. There's a lot of speculation that the star of Bethlehem in the Jesus story and the manger was just such a conjunction, maybe even a pile up with those two in Venus. So there's a lot of ideas around this happening again. Now, one of the things that you can consider is that this is an air area, right? This is air. And the last time they came together in air, in 1981, actually, just the tail end of 1980 into 81, it was the beginning of a few things to do with this idea of Libra air. It was a tiptoe into Libra air in 1981. And we saw a lot of stuff happen back then to do with the idea of what is it like when Saturn lives in Libra sign. Saturn's exalted there. And so it's a lot of the exaltation energy of that air sign. So we had things like, and I owe Chutabava, my astrology teacher, for mentioning this on his own channel, the royal wedding of Princess Diana and Prince Charles. I love that. What an exalted Libra ruled by Venus, right? Saturn is exalted in Venus's house. We had the wedding of the century. We had the wedding of a princess and a prince, exalted Libra, and Libra is a part of Venus. It does one-on-one relationships and marriages and stuff like that. So we also, though, I did have other things happening as that kicked off. We had the whole increasingly sophisticated technological and online environment. Does anybody remember You've Got Mail? AOL took off in the 20 years from that 1981 conjunction. It became a whole idea that you've got mail. The personal computer was developed. You know, I didn't have a laptop or personal computer in the early 80s, but I sure did in the 90s. That happened during those 20 years. So we have this advancing technology. We also had the AIDS epidemic, and that even though it wasn't an epidemic like a pandemic, you couldn't catch it from people. I do remember a lot of people were really afraid of getting sick. I was in that whole 80s, 90s. I was born in the 60s. And there was a pandemic-like environment where people were anxious about catching something, opposed to what? The 2000 to 2020 period, where the conjunction was in an air sign, and people, other than a few Ebola bumps in the road, but didn't really hit the collective, nobody was terrified of catching a disease. And so the AIDS epidemic or pandemic or AIDS events or whatever, really an epidemic, happened in the 80s, really began to take off around 85. So I don't think that means that we're going to have a return of AIDS. What I think it means is that this conjunction of Saturn in another air sign, Aquarius, may preoccupy us with the air. What is it with the COVID virus that we all are worried about? The air. We actually are a little bit afraid to breathe the air. I mean, let's go seriously with that, right? Fear of air. Saturn can be anxiety, worry, stress, constraint, restriction in the sign of air. Jupiter sitting there as well and joining in the fray. And Jupiter in this picture is right with Saturn, but technically, just saying something, Jupiter follows Saturn into this place. Saturn comes into Aquarius on December 17th. Jupiter's trailing behind and follows in on the 19th. And that means in many ways, this is Saturn's show, right? He's the lead dog, and Jupiter's kind of best supporting actor for the next couple of decades. And you're going to really feel this energy over the first year, in which Jupiter enters your first house, or I mean, my first house, or enters your Aquarian house. And what would normally be an area of excitement and, whoa, Jupiter's in this house, like my house of real estate. Whoa, I'm so successful. My house of marriage, my wedding's going to be great. My husband's going to be, or wife is like amazeballs or whatever. House of romance, the love of my life. Okay. Jupiter could bring those things to each of us in some part of our chart, depending on where the Aquarius area is in your natal chart, which are the 12 houses. But with Saturn there, especially over 2000, you know, when the journey of the first year, Saturn's the lead. And it's kind of like Jupiter has to take cue. Best supporting actor is the best analogy I can come up with for what Saturn wants to do. So what can I say about that? Saturn is serious, sober, strict, disciplined, hardworking, stoic. Did I say that? But tangible results, getting things done, making them real, you know. Saturn is good at boundaries. You know, he's the boundary between the outer planets and the inner planets. He's good at putting up walls, boundaries. Now that could work in a way we don't expect, right? Because, you know, when you think of xenophobia, which is a fear of the other, right? I wrote an article called The Othering of America. That's Saturn in his shadow. I'm afraid of the others. They're different from me. I'm terrified of other. And then we've got Jupiter there. He's just doing his best to support Saturn. So he might try to bring some goodness, some expansion, some promise, you know, some assistance to what Saturn's agendas are for the collective and for your own life. I think that Saturn in Aquarius is going to mean a bit more constraint and lack of freedom, even as we supposedly get a vaccine going. And I don't know why, but Saturn can look like authoritarian control. It can look like putting up boundaries. It can look like separating and isolation. I mean, he's the hermit. He's the kind of the sage on the mountaintop, and he's the isolated one, the hermit. Yeah, like so. there could be a sense of being hermity within your own group, you know, isolating within your own group. We already do that with our COVID bubble. But maybe this is also about our religious and our faith-based groups. Jupiter is religion and faith, beliefs. And, you know, when you have something going on right now in the collective, such as conspiracy theory orientation for a lot of the people in the world right now, especially in the United States, it's dividing families and separating and isolating people from one another. And that's all Saturn can do that in a shadow around things to do with belief. Jupiter. So maybe we're going to see increasing polarization. Was the election in the United States a fraud? Well, apparently not, but some people will believe that Jupiter, no matter what, and they will find that that Saturn energy will divide them or isolate them from those in their lives that they normally would connect with. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm having less and less luck talking to friends who are gone down rabbit holes of conspiracy theory because they don't want to talk to me. I'm like, let's chat about this idea. And they're like, you know, do your research. You're sheeple. Goodbye. All right. I mean, I've lost a lot of friends, real and virtual. Alrighty, so there's just that. Here's another point about what I'm saying. Athena, goddess of wisdom and knowledge, is participating in this story. She's a part of the tale. And I love that because I think that she's going to bring some sort of wisdom and strategy and the earnest attempt to find truth. She's a bit of a truth teller in what is going on and parse it out and figure out where the truth is, sift for truth, but also wisdom and knowledge and strategy. And she's like kind of like a warrior goddess in Roman times. The Greeks saw her as knowledge and wisdom. I always call her the cosmic librarian. She could be very involved in the vaccine thing, but she's also the warrior and she's victory. And she was, you know, petitioned in ancient Rome for victories over conquests and wars and stuff like that to become victorious. And so she has this fierce warrior side, and she's participating in this conjunction as it initiates a new theme for the collective. So we can see where that goes. I mean, it's a bit hard to actually give it an exact, you know, storyline, but something to do with, you know, she's smart. She's a cosmic librarian. Like maybe the brains will reign instead of the superstition. We shall see over time, that is. What else do I want to say here? I didn't like really write down a bunch of notes. I'm really kind of just reading the chart as I see it. I've been studying this for a while, really listening to what I think is coming from it and what others may have said, which I don't remember anymore. You know, there is a very mild grand, well, I mean, a light square in the sky. You see that square? That's a grand cross. And that's happening because of the north and south node pinning to Neptune, right? 18 degrees of Neptune, 19 degrees of the north-south node axis, and then Vesta, the Vestal Virgin, pinning the corner across from Neptune. Technically, a grand cross is a little bit like crucifixion. And Neptune is God that runs pandemics. I mean, viruses, hidden illnesses, things like that. And on top of that, he's also very much involved in movements that are paranoia, conspiracy theory, you know, religions and cults. So he can be a part of all of that. And here we have some of that going on right now. And then he's opposing this light of Vesta, or she's opposing him. She's a faster mover on the day of the conjunction. So it kind of bakes into this conjunction of Kings, great conjunction, this energy of this grand cross. Vesta is a light bearer. It's like the sacred torch. It's like the Olympian flame. It's like the Statue of Liberty. It's trying to bring light to something. It's also a devotional energy and a priestess energy. And a hearth-keeping energy. So the idea of some sacred flame, some sacred light that wants to be shone on the foggy confusion of Neptune is really important. But also when you think of being like a zealot or, you know, like a kamikaze pilot or a suicide bomber, those are kind of Vesta themes, over the top devotion, fervor, zealotry, because the Vestal Virgin was also the archetype of a priestess who dedicated 30 years of her life, forfeit children and marriage in order to tend a sacred flame. So it can be an extreme devotion. And when it's in relationship to Neptune, people in our collective over the next 20 years could be very devoted, almost religious zeal, if not fanaticism, to something that is difficult because it's a part of a grand cross. And we have this kind of crucifixion and excruciating tension that we have to look at here. and wonder what it's offering. And because it's Neptune square the nodes of fate for the collective at the time of the eclipse, I kind of think it's going to be an interesting couple of decades ahead, certainly next year as well. Well, we try to come to terms with what's real and what's true. Is it real or is it Memorex? I keep talking about the aliens, UFOs, or some weird shit like that happening, excuse my language. And I still think that there's going to be some glimmer here. And we had the really weird stuff happen lately with people finding these monoliths in Utah. And then later, I think Romania, the one in Utah disappeared. It may be nothing. It may be something like crop circles, you know, at first were like considered to be a hoax and now they're understood to be real. So if there's something like phenomenal happening in the world, I wouldn't be surprised that coincides with this and brings us some light, brings us some hope. And my thought is that that's because of the Uranus transit through the sign of Taurus. And during the time of the actual conjunction of kings, that Uranus sits at 6 degrees, right? And is trining Venus in Sagittarius. And or she's trining the node. Oh, sorry, Uranus. It's not a trine to Uranus. I'm sorry. It's an inconjunct. So it's an awkward angle. Venus can rule art and beauty. And when I think of things like when they found all of the Egyptian artifacts and they were like gorgeous amulets and talismans and bracelets, but yet you also these hieroglyphs and the wisdom that was inscribed with painting and art, that can be very Venusian as well. And in a Sagittarius, which is very exploratory and adventurous and all of that. So in conjunct though may make it like we sort of get a little bit of wind of something in 2021 that's a little odd or unusual, little erratic, coming from the earth, like found in a cave, found under the earth, found under a glacier, as I've been saying in other videos. I think there's going to be a discovery in 2021. I'm going to stick with it, to do with aliens, other life forms, planetary stuff, internet. I mean, it will come through the internet, all that stuff. It's just going to be some super woo. What was that old show, Fringe, you know, like the fringe element, like a fringe vibe, or like the X-Files vibe. Either of those shows feel like that's going to play a big role in 2021. And a lot of that's based on my intuition as well. Okay, so let's get away from this chart for a second, and we'll get into the all signs. Well, just before I do that, I'm also going to say one last thing about the general meaning of the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction. It can portend the death of a political leader. And, you know, it has been throughout history that assassination attempts or deaths of people in power occur quite often in the year of the conjunction of kings. So let's just put that out there, that there's a possibility that in the year that follows, there may be the death of a world leader of some note, and it will like hit the world waves, and everybody will know about it. It doesn't have to be by assassination or assassination attempt. It could be by illness as well. But there's definitely that, you know, lore of that particular combination of planets that happens every 20 years. Alrighty. Now let's go ahead and let's talk about the all signs part of the reading. So just before we begin the all signs portion of how the Great Conjunction of Kings will affect your life in the next 20 years, I want to remind you that I am having a little special, the mini reading of how the two coming together may affect you. And I'm going to do that reading as a recording for half an hour. And if you want to grab it, it's on sale down below. And I'm only going to do a certain number of them. I think I might do like 20 or so, or 22, because that's about all I'll have time for. But I love doing that kind of thing. And you could also send it to someone as a gift, should you want to give me their information, and they'll get the recording in their inbox for Christmas. So that could be a really great kind of virtual stocking stuffer of a reading just for fun. So consider that and check the link below. And don't forget, please like my channel and subscribe and comment and share and all of that. It helps my algorithm, you know, helps me build the channel. And don't forget, I have a private Patreon community. I have 11 people in the community. We do all kinds of cool stuff together, and they get content that's exclusive and also early access to everything that you see here on YouTube, as well as my Astro Tarot Tuesdays every night at 8 o'clock at Tuesday nights. We get together live on a Zoom call and we talk about a topic and we take personal questions. Okay. So let's go ahead. So let's start off with Aries, and I'm just going to adjust my seat. Whoa, I'm going to get comfortable here. All right, so Aries, this is happening in the 11th house of good spirit. This is where you can find that the next 20 years, you really benefit in your social influence, especially when it comes to other people wanting to support and help you. It's often like friends and allies and benefactors and people really want to help you. And it's pennies from heaven and great financial gain from your career. So Aries, ascendant, sun and moon. I always want to remind people, please look at your ascendant first, then your sun, and then your moon, or moon and sun, depending if you're born at night. So anyway, back to the story. So the Aries people of the world, I want you to really think about, because I'm an Aries sun and moon, I really want you to start thinking about over the next 20 years, where do I really want to put my social stamp in the world? Where do I want to have influence? And to whom and what do I belong? You know, what is the kind of community or group that really fits who I am inside? Because, you know, the 11th house is like, I belong to the society of, the membership of, the church of, whatever. It's a sense of a larger community and having influence as well in larger communities or over larger communities and being a part of them as well. You know, when we think of social movements, it's very 11th house. Do you want to start a social movement? Do you want to be a part of a social movement? This is a place of great benefit for the next 20 years. And certainly not just like online social movements, but, you know, real life on the ground social movements. And your friendships are going to increase over the next 20 years. Your networks, your social influence, your footprint, how many people do you influence, even if not directly, but by proxy, like by having a YouTube channel or having some kind of social media presence, or just because you write a book and it does really well and you influence people, great numbers of people by what you've written. Okay, so consider that all those themes. Now, it is a karmic rewards house, and it is about your hopes, dreams, and wishes. And now that the conjunction of kings has come into the house, Aries, sun, moon, and ascendant, of your hopes, dreams, and wishes for this life, this is where some of that can really take off. I'll give you an example. Maybe it's true for me or maybe it's not, but I've always wanted to get a novel off the ground. I'm an award-winning short fiction writer, and I thought, you know, and I've studied short fiction writing and fiction writing, and oh God, it's about time to write a novel. You know, I did one before, but I didn't like it. So is that something I might actually get off the ground over the next 20 years? I think so. I think I'll do it. So really dig Aries into your hopes, dreams, and wishes. And on the day of the conjunction, why not spend some time tuning into that? Because there's an imprint on this day. You know, it's when it happens it's on the 21st where this imprint occurs. What time does it occur? I should have mentioned that to you. Oh, well, it's the day of anyway. It doesn't have to be exact. All right, moving forward to Taurus. This is happening in your natal 10th house of career, Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendant. Your career, your reputation in the world, your contribution, your status. How do you want to show up in the world in terms of the thing you do or the career path that you have? Because Jupiter and Saturn are going to help you with that. And in 2021, you may find that Saturn leads the story and you get more serious, more sober, more disciplined, more focused, more discerning, and more masterful about your career path. And you will also just come, like, sober is a good Saturnian word, like sobering up, you know, being serious, seeing things realistically. And if you're in a career path or direction that doesn't really fit who you are, Taurus, at all, and you've been wondering if it's time to like reorient, this would be probably a good time over the next 20 years, but even the first year of that. Jupiter is the god of education. Just want to plant a seed, because I know some of my listeners are students. This could be a new educational direction, a new teacher, a new teaching that you study. Those are possibilities that comes to you in 2021. If you want to get a really good job, a promotion, or a raise with Jupiter in your 10th house with Saturn, pretty good to go. You're probably going to get hired. You're probably going to get elevated. You're probably going to get a promotion or a raise. But more importantly, the true call of the time is to ask yourself, is this right for me? Because there's going to be a reinvention of your career direction over the next 2 decades. And so you may just be surprised at what life shows you and where your success shows up in the world compared to where it was in the couple of decades before that. All right. Anything else I want to say? Parents, this is the house of the father. Your relationship, Taurus, sun, moon, and ascendant with your father may come to some kind of changing of the guard over the next couple of decades, but even more so over the next 12 months. from the conjunction on the 21st. So new connections to your father, new relationship to your father, changing of the relationship with your father, or an authority figure like a father or a boss or an authority figure. All right. Let's keep going. Gemini, because, in a real reading with me or any astrologer, you're going to get all the nitty gritty of where does Athena angle in your chart and where does this Grand Cross show up. So remember, this is just kind of a generic version. So Gemini, sun, moon, and ascendants, especially ascendants, this is happening in your ninth house of God. This is the house of truth, of soul, of religion, of belief, of faith, of hope, sometimes of courts and court cases, foreign lands, your dharma, your true calling or purpose in life for which you are best aligned. You could be investigating, Gemini, some of that for yourself. Is this the path for me? Is this my dharma? Is this where I want to go? And also, is this where I want to live? The foreign lands piece. Maybe this is a call over the next 20 years to plunk yourself down and live in another country. The other part about it for you Geminis is that this is an education house, like colleges, campuses, universities, higher education, any education where you get certified. And it takes about longer than a year, right? Is ninth house education. And so getting new educational directions going that could actually be starting up for you, Geminis, in 2021 could really change your life story and your direction in life. If you belong to a religious belief structure, that's going to likely change over the next 20 years. If you already have beliefs and you're adherent to some belief structures, they could escalate and exacerbate because of that vested Grand Cross, or they could change over the next couple of decades. I wouldn't say it's a place of hardship, but I'd say it's a place of growth, that if you don't believe in anything, you may start to believe in something. And if you believe in a lot, you might start to believe in less. It's just going to change up a lot for you. It certainly is a good next 20 years to find a teacher, spiritual guide, coach, life coach, spiritual teacher, guru, guide. Those are very ninth house things. And one might show up for you even in 2021, but it could be a really rich path for you to find those people over the next couple of decades. Lastly, the ninth house can be like the vice president, the hand of the king, the executive assistant to the CEO. So it's like the person who's just behind the person in power. And if those are parts of your life, like you're in a profession where that's true, like you aspire to be the power behind the power in those ways, this is going to be kind of cool for you. Like Kamala Harris is going into her ninth house perfection age where her Saturn sits. And she is now going to be vice president to the president. So she's coming into her ninth house energy field. She just stepped in there, I think. And before the inauguration, I think maybe November. And she is literally looking at being the vice president and being like the hand of the king or the second in command. And so, she's got Saturn there. She's kind of cut out for it, really. And also, sometimes the ninth house can be about politics as well. I've seen that happen. So if you have any aspirations in the political front over the next 20 years, some of you guys may find that you suddenly take off. And I think you're going to end up excitedly engaged in legislation, politics or something, just for some of you, not all of you. All right, moving forward, Cancer, this is happening in your natal 8th house, and your 8th house of money and wealth that you accumulate through other people's money, spousal money, inheritance money, grants, tax rebates, leveraging money, bank loans, mortgages. Okay, you get the idea. It's money that doesn't just belong to you. It's not your daily salary paycheck thing. And you're going to have some real energy shifting there. Like if you sell an asset like a house, or if you invest in something and it takes off, or if you have an inheritance or your spouse does really well financially over the next 20 years, that could be a theme. And especially over the next year, because Jupiter, which can mean husband, by the way, is going through the 8th house, and bounty could happen. You could have some really good money luck in the next year for sure, with Jupiter and Saturn joining together through your natal 8th house. Well, Saturn will be there for a while, okay, till like 3 years, 2.5 years, but Jupiter only for the year. So it's a good money year for you guys, but that's a picture for 20 years, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Ascendants. Your money profile, your savings, your wealth profile, your treasure chest will increase over the next 20 years. So things are going up for you that way. Anything else? House of occult mysteries, secrets, taboos, depth psychology. Those areas are very fertile for the next couple of decades. Sexual intimacy, tantra, all of that good stuff. For some of you, that may be germane. You might be totally looking for some deep sexual intimacy and real connection in love and relationship. Yeah, that's it. Certainly any secrets that have been kept from you anywhere will be revealed, because you know, secrets can't normally be kept very well. When Jupiter gets somewhere, he blows everything up, kind of like expands everything like a gas giant that he is. I can never do this. Gas giant that he is over there. So if there was something repressed, like secrets from being kept from you in any area of your life, that by anybody, they're definitely going to pop out in 2021. All right, let's keep going here. Let me get some water. All righty, moving on. We're going to talk next about Leo, and this energy is happening in your natal 7th house of marriage, also the house of business partnerships, and also sometimes long-term friendships and legal contracts. Now, this doesn't mean that for like the next 20 years you're doing legal contracts, right? It just means that legal contracts should go swimmingly well. Business partnerships should go well. If you have clients, you should have great clients. Things are going to really move in that area of your chart. But then also it is monogamous long-term love. Saturn is already in love stories, the guy of long-term love. He is like, let's stick with it. Jupiter is like hope and optimism and faith. And so hopefully for you Leo's sun, moon, and ascendants, you're going to have a great 2021 in your marriage. Because Saturn moves into your marriage house first, and then just right behind him is Jupiter. It's kind of Jupiter is supporting actor, and it's trying to bring faith and hope and generosity and positivity and expansion in the marriage itself. And Saturn is a lead guy saying, and we're going to get through this together. We're going to stick with it. We're not going to give up. We got this, you know, we're going to bring this marriage through. And if you're not married or you're single, then this could bring a new relationship of great power into your life, one with staying power. You know, it is a real auspicious area of your life for the next 20 years. So a new relationship might even show up in the first year, 2021. Jupiter going through your natal derived 7th house. Jupiter for you, a Leo rising in particular. This is happening in the marriage house. Very possible that you're going to meet somebody in 2021 if you're single. Now, that's less so for the sun and moon of Leos. This is more so for the rising Leo. This is literally your 7th house. Okay. One thing else I want to say, Jupiter rules law. He's associated with law. He's a part of that story. So all legal affairs in 2021, if you've been tangled up in some kind of lawsuit or legal red tape or stuff like that, even just legal red tape about anything like visas, visa applications, and bureaucratic legal red tape, oh, I'm gonna itchy back. It's so dry in Montreal, that you are probably going to find that they go well, that things turn around. The legal front for Leo, sun, moon, and ascendants on any area, 2021 is a turning point. It's also a good blessing zone for the next 2 decades. If you have an audience, like, you know, you're on like YouTube, like me, the 7th house can be the audience. And so this can expand your reach, expand your audience, and bring you greater influence and more people listening or following or finding you. Okay. If you see clients one-on-one, which I do a lot, then this is going to be influencing your clients, Leo, sun, moon, and ascendants. Okay. And you'll get more momentum and more juice and more excitement and more growth and more goodness and more permanence from your client base. This applies to anything, like any kind of client that you would have, customer, client, whatever you want to call it. All right, continuing onwards, let's go ahead and talk about the Virgo rising, the Virgo sun, and the Virgo moon people, especially the rising. This is happening in, I had to play with my hair, guys. I am so, like, I'm fiddling on my seat. I've been doing readings on this seat all day, and I'm really restless, and I just want to get off my chair. I'll make some dinner. So sorry, I just want to get this done, but I realize I'm fidgety. Let me find a comfortable position. Okay. Virgo, this is happening in your natal 6th house. This is the house of your health protocols. You know, how do you take care of yourself? Exercise, food style, regimes and regimens, daily routines for wellness. How do you take care of the work you do on a daily basis? This is your office place and your work routines. Now, it's also the house of karmic debt. So in a way, it's kind of like, do you have any karmic debt to pay off? Then you could pay it off. And when you do pay off debt, you know, sixth house energy is like right livelihood. Now, everyone doesn't have a lot of debt. If you have no planets in your sixth house, you're pretty debt free. I've seen that with my clients. But if you have a lot of planets there, you're wanting a life to be of service and to work hard at something and to really apply yourself into what is a right livelihood as a way of servicing a debt, which is why the sixth house can be the house of slavery and duty, because it can be a place of drudgery when we get stuck in a place that's not true for us. And so the challenge with sixth house energies is to find the right direction, the right call, the right livelihood, the right expression of your service to pay off the debt, in quotes. So, you know, people with a lot of planets in their sixth house work hard. You know, they usually have a hard work ethic. So I'd say, okay, Virgo, sun, moon, and ascendant. You're going to be looking at your work being a little easier and if things are flowing over the next couple of decades, because obviously this is a blessing, a conjunction of kings. And you're going to have the can-do to achieve authority and mastery in something, Saturn, blessing the sixth house. And especially over the next 2.5, 3 years, trining your career house. And then Jupiter in the first year, 2021, giving you buoyance, optimism, opportunity, luck, expansion, and growth in the work environment. Now, if you don't work because you're like a housewife or a student, then the job of the housewife or the student is your work. So things are going to improve in that area of your life. Okay, move forward and bring you greater blessings and less hardship. Pay attention to new ways to take care of your health, because Jupiter can often bring something to the forefront that you haven't been aware of, an opportunity to learn or discover something new, as well as just good bounty and luck, but around health protocols. So, just keep your eyes open and Saturn represents the authority figure. So, a master Ayurvedic doctor comes into your life who has all the knowledge, Jupiter, to heal your body and help you heal your body. That's an example. And that especially is true in 2021. But that kind of idea will roll out over the next 2 decades where you find that kind of help when you need it. Pets is a sixth house. And if you want to get a pet, oh my God, Virgo, sun, moon, and ascendants, I'm telling you, this will happen in this year. Jupiter, he's constrained and restrained by Saturn. So it'd be very practical. Like, we can't possibly get a mastiff because we live in a 600 square foot apartment. We could afford a Chihuahua. So you want to get a pet probably, or a cat or a dog or whatever, and you'll feel the urge for a pet in 2021, I swear, but you will be very practical about the choice. And that urge for the pet is probably more so in 2021 during Jupiter's transit and Saturn co-present. All right. Jupiter is a psychopomp. He can ferry the souls of the dead to the other side in a very blessed ending. If you have a pet that is elderly, it is possible, if not likely, with the Lord of Time and Karma, the Grim Reaper Saturn, and Jupiter the psychopomp, that you may lose a pet in 2021. Okay, a family pet may be ready to pass. All right, so just be aware of that. Likely from elderliness, because it's Saturn energy. An old animal could be ready to pass for you in 2021. Going forward to Libra, sun, moon, and ascendants. This is happening in your natal 5th house of romantic love, of babies and children and pregnancy and creativity, of inceptions and conceptions, of luck and speculation, and of independent business enterprise and the muse, being inspired and joyful. Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Hey, that's your 5th house. So you Libra, sun, moon, and ascendants are really going to start looking at life through the filter of joy, play, and pleasure over the next 20 years, not just this year. It's going to be, am I joyful? Am I having fun? Is this pleasurable? Is it inspiring to me? And if it's not, believe me, it won't make the cut. So this year ahead in 2021, if you wanted to have a child and you hadn't had one, you're probably going to get one. Your children will have a good year. Jupiter's in the house of your children. Conception will happen with ease. It's great fertility symbols. Jupiter is always about fertility when he travels the 5th house. People get pregnant even with multiple birth control. So be careful if you don't want a baby. It's also love affairs. If you're single and Jupiter goes through your 5th house, watch out. Somebody's coming in 2021. And Saturn could be an older person, an authority figure, affair with the boss, an affair with an older person, an affair with an expert authority character. Yeah. Yeah, watch out. And if you are with somebody, it could just heat up the love life. I mean, things could get sexier and more juicy and more exciting than they have in the past. There's sometimes with Saturn, it's about karma. And so any new relationships that begin, love affairs, could be an extremely karmic relationship. You might feel that soulmate vibe and that sense of destiny from the outset. And if any relationship begins in this 2020, it'll probably go the distance because Saturn brings longevity to the story. Things just tend not to wear out. They go the distance. Finally, if there's a project that really inspires you to write a book, to, create an art installation or, be creative, this is the house of art, muse, creativity, performance, expressing yourself with inspiration. So this is going to be a theme of exploring your creative, artistic inspiration. The muse is going to play, listening to the soul of the muse. What does the muse want me to do? Oh, paint a canvas, do a sculpture, write a book, write some poetry, get some acting classes, whatever. Libra, sun, moon, and ascendant, you are going to have more creative, inspired energy over the next 2 decades. And luck. There's also luck. It's a lucky 20 years for you. I mean, seriously, it's a really good spot for you guys. Lucky breaks in money, lucky breaks in love, lucky breaks in all things. All right, moving on. Scorpios, you're having this in your 4th house of home. So real estate, land, apartment, home, these are places of great benefit for you. And my lips are so dry and I end up getting a cold sore too. So it's really irritating, which I rarely get. But anyways, it's been so dry here. Now it's pouring rain in Montreal. Sorry, I digress. Scorpio, you're having this in your house of real estate, home, house of the ancestors, family of origin, like mom and dad, particularly maybe mom, but so blessings with mom, things go swimmingly well with your mom and your ancestral line. Jupiter in the house of mom or parents, your mom could have some really good luck. Now my son's a Scorpio rising, so I hope that's true. So luck and blessings to your mom, but also this is your 4th house. So you could have things like lucky developments in real estate, land ownership, possessing money that comes to you in this year ahead, especially with Jupiter there. The reason I'm bringing up money is because it's trining the 8th house and sextiling the 2nd. So this is a good money year for you. And you could find yourself just really cashing in. Get that reading with me. Some kind of good money luck is going to come to you. And it could, again, be connected to your mom and dad or dad, and it could be just connected to yourself. But over the next 20 years, the idea is things that are connected to your home benefit you. Like if you want to work from home, set up an online business, do work from home or anything from the home environment, you're going to really be successful. Now, Jupiter likes to move around. Saturn likes to stay put. But the first year, the 2021, with Jupiter there, and it's going to be a temptation for you to want to relocate or move. Okay, so keep that in mind. You just might do that in 2021. Some of you Scorpio, sun, moon, and ascendants. Just trying to think what, the 4th house can be your ancestral line and belief structures and things that might be up the line that could actually be good for you or bad for you. And now with the conjunction of kings there, your ancestral heritage could benefit you, and this could be literally like, things you've learned from your mom and dad, work ethics, sayings, ethos, ways of being. You might adopt some of that and use it for your own benefit. Saturn likes to build. And the builder is going into your 4th house. And Jupiter, of course, for the first year is about opportunity. So if you're involved in the building trades or you want to be, or you want to get involved in real estate or building or land or speculation, that would all be very good for you, actually. Saturn is going to be there for a long time. Saturn there for 20 years, so does anchor you in the house of home. So if you do change homes in 2021, it's very possible that you're not moving anywhere for 20 years. Saturn's like, we're staying put. This is the place. Get the reading with me, guys, because I'll show you where that might be if that's true in your life. All righty, let's keep going because I'm losing my voice after seeing clients all day. This is in Sagittarius. We're moving on to Sagittarius. I get delirious, guys. I can't talk this much. I talk today with clients, and now I'm losing my, but I want to get this out to you. So, Sagittarius, third house. This is in your third house. The conjunction of kings is in the house of your siblings, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendant. Changes with your siblings, changes in your relationship to your siblings, restrictions and constrictions maybe in the first year, but opportunity at the same time. Saturn can bring endings or constriction and sometimes passing away energy. If we have a sibling who's been ill, they may pass in 2021. Jupiter can be the psychopomp, right? With the Grim Reaper. So yeah. The third house is short trips and travel, domestic usually, and self-expression, like writing and selling and communicating and marketing. And it kind of is very much the social media milieu, partly connects to that part of your reality. You may really want to get going on trips and travel, because that you are looking at that third house being like, really revved up in 2021. I don't know how much we can travel because of COVID, right? But it's not far off lands. It's domestic or local or short trips and travel. You might end up getting a new job and you're going back and forth, a lot or something like that, or traveling to and fro for something, a lot of moving around. It's a cadent energy. It's busy. It's hardworking. It's all of that things. If you want to learn a new skill or a trade, that's a third house thing. So you could educate yourself and do an education, not going back to college or university or going to that. This would be like taking a class or apprenticing with a tradesman or learning some specific skill set. Okay. And that might be Jupiter going through your third house, which is already about learning, could really propel you to learn something new, Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendants in 2021. Okay, so keep all that in mind. Sometimes the third house can be your friends that are really your local buds. So a lot of action there over the next year and then over the next 20 years. I always call it the hood, the third house, my neighborhood. You might be forging new branches of energy in the neighborhood that you live in over the next 2 decades. Yeah. And if you end up in a job that allows you to travel, then you would like it because, it's like being initiated. Goodness comes with short trips and travel. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and ascendant. And it is your Lord Jupiter, Lord of your sign, that's in the third house. And, so you guys are Sagittarius, is you love to travel. You're the adventurer. You're the explorer. You're always like ready to go. Get me a backpack. I'm out of here. The ultimate hitchhiker kind of vibe. So I definitely think you're going to do a lot more journeying in 2021, but also over the next 2 decades. Sometimes we relocate with third house energy. You could definitely have a relocation to a new city or a new community, maybe in 2021, but certainly over the next couple of decades. This is the house of the goddess. It's synchronicity, it's magic, it's divination. You might get more in touch with those elements of your life, the magical, the synchronistic, the serendipitous. All right, Capricorn, this is happening in your money house, your revenue, your second house, self-worth, self-possession, assets, your throat, your message in the world, things you eat, things that come out of your mouth. Your second house is going to be given this initiation. Money should get really good for you, Capricorn, sun, moon, and ascendants in 2021. Jupiter is restrained because he's following in Saturn's footsteps as best supporting actor, but he's going to try to bring out some more abundance for you in your second house of money and spending. You may spend more money than you normally do, but with restraint, with Saturnian restraint, with a good budget. All that kind of thing. But certainly it can be a new job. It can be an offer that gives you more money, a raise at work. It could just be a new means to make more money. But money and flow of assets is good. It's things you possess. You might buy things like a house or this or that. It's a house of possessions. Capricorn, sun, moon, and ascendant. With Jupiter there, though, luck is flowing in 2021. Things are moving in your behalf towards your financial resources, your resourcefulness, and your self-worth that goes with that, and your self-possession. It's a good time. You're Capricorn. You care about your self-possessions. You care about your belongings, resources. You care about safety, security, and material success. And the good news is that the next 20 years gives you a lot of that. So yay for you. Capricorns, you're off to the races with this conjunction in a place that can bring you great financial and resourceful success over the next 20 years, something true and dear to your Capricornian heart. All right. And then I'm an Aquarius rising. That's what I am. Sun, moon, and ascendants. This is your natal first house of your identity. Okay, here we go. Me, you, ascendants, those of us who are the ascendant. We may, with Jupiter meeting Saturn there, change our looks. We may change our style, our looks, our appearance. We may get more rigorous with our physical wellness. Saturn can make us buckle down and get serious about the yoga that I never do. It could also be with Jupiter gaining weight. Jupiter on the ascendant, we tend to gain weight. But it's also buoyant goodness and feeling good about yourself and feeling good about who you are and feeling like, that Jupiter in the first house is such a blessing. It's also a reset for the next 12 years of your life on top of the conjunction of kings for you Aquarians. So it's got a double-edged beginning anyway of a reset of a 12-year cycle when Jupiter is in the ascendant sign. And this applies to you sun and moons as well, okay? Although, as I always tell people, your ascendant is the most accurate. But it's a sense of a new beginning. And this is an era for the next 200 years of air signs. And it's really in the next 20 years, the Aquarians who are going to lead the show. Okay. We're here. Woohoo. Aquarians, hopeful, humanitarian, combination, visionary, we are one, we are the world, community, figuring out how community at large works. What is a real community? I'll tell you, I'm ready to find intentional community with property and many buildings, and I want to live in a community or a big mansion with many rooms, because I'm solitary. I have Saturn in my chart on the ascendant. I like to be alone, but suddenly I'm yearning for that kind of a life. And that's probably that conjunction of kings pending. King Saturn and King Jupiter in my first house of identity are bringing my Aquarian instincts for more community and belonging to the forefront. If you want to teach, like everything from guru to just like online teaching or teacher or instructor, or get a teaching job or be a teacher, Jupiter in the first house makes your identity merge with the teacher archetype for you Aquarians. So teaching can be very successful as an endeavor over the next year for sure, 2021. Saturn gives the backbone, the technology, the backbone, the discipline, and the focus and the structure to do that. Like an example. I think I'm going to go to Kajabi and set up a diet. I'm going to set up a new teaching platform. That's Saturn, focus, discipline, structure, and Jupiter, teaching. So think about those things. Where does a desire to be instructive and teacherly show up for you next year? Jupiter's just optimism. You're going to feel really optimistic, all you Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendants. You're going to feel filled with some faith and hope in life. This is a good time for all of us Aquarius, sun, moon, and ascendants. And we've been waiting our life for this. We were incarnating so that we'd have the conjunction of kings, which hasn't been ongoing for 800 years, started 800 years ago to 600 years ago and then stopped. I mean, we're back. We're in the flow of it again. And we incarnated now with either a sun, a moon, or an ascendant in Aquarius. So you got to say that this is the time, and this is the 20 years ahead, that us Aquarians are born for. Yay! You guys of any type should get my little mini reading, the 30-minute quickie that I sent to you by a downloadable audio video, because it's important. You guys are carrying the whole Aquarian energy forward for the collective, not the age of Aquarius. That's a precession of the equinoxes, but this is a strong Aquarian influence over the next 2 decades. All right, last is the Pisces of the world. Oh, thank God I'm recording. I thought maybe I'd stopped. Pisces, sun, moon, and ascendant. This is happening in your 12th house of past lives. Dreams at night, reverie, meditation, gurus, enlightenment, moksha, breaking free of the matrix, Neo, unplugging from the matrix. What's real? What's Memorex? You're going to find that your magical, mystical, spiritual life takes off over the next 2 decades. Now, if you want a guru, Jupiter means guru, dispeller of darkness. He's going through your 12th house in 2021. If you want a life coach, a guide, a guru, a spiritual mentor, 2021 Pisces is the way to go. Find that person, likely authoritative, co-present with Saturn, probably from an established discipline, not like the quantum healing hypnosis stuff or whatever, more like somebody would help you who's like a licensed psychotherapist, a Zen monk, coming from a tradition. This is a good time for your dreams at night. You're going to find Jupiter, I just went through this, going through your 12th house, big dreams. The shamanic world called them big dreams. And so suddenly you're going to be dreaming like the big ones, you know, like visionary, prophetic, meaningful dreams that inform your life and tell you where to go next and what to do. Also, Jupiter in your 12th house is a time. So get your dream journal handy for 2021 when Jupiter's there. But for the bigger picture, the initiation is all things 12th house bless you. So any addiction, self-undoing, and bad habits that have held you back in life over the next 20 years, get ready to watch them fall away. Yep. There goes that addiction. Good, it's gone. There goes that bad habit. It's gone. There goes my own self-doubt and self-undoing. It's gone. If you have to go to a hospital, it rules hospitals and mental asylums, things will go swimmingly well and you'll get checked out sooner than you got checked in. In general as well, it's a karmic energy, and people who may be coming into your life that you don't know yet over the next 20 years are often going to be people from another life. And there may be a strong sense of this essence of the karmic connection, the feeling of knowing these people, a person from before. If you're single and you're looking for a relationship, Jupiter can mean husband for a heterosexual woman. Going through the 12th house, I've seen it sometimes initiate a romantic love affair with somebody for whom you feel a strong sense of soulmate or destiny. What else can I say? It does enervate your desire to really understand the soulful part of your life, you know, not to just be on the surface of life. You could be very authoritative over the next 20 years about the deeper soulful mysteries of life. This is a moksha house, an enlightenment house, a water house. Now, if you're a creative type, because of the energy of that, you may find yourself very involved in creations and creativity as well, highlighted over the next 20 years, art creations and other creations, but you're going to tap like a deeper source, like the universal Akashic records, all that was and ever will be and is, you know. You're going to like draw from a universal source, not your personal unconscious, but from the collective unconscious in your creativity and in your focus in all things. Okay, the 12th house is the hardest to talk about because it's not really that, it's hidden, it's mysterious, you know, it's not really of this world. Yeah. All right, so that's it. That's it. Like, subscribe, share, join my Patreon community for $5 a month. You can go to my Astro Tarot Tuesdays every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. I'm recording this on a Tuesday, so that's next on my evening agenda in an hour and a half. And that's about it. I really hope that that was helpful for you and that 2021 is a breath of fresh air for all of us and for you in each of your own little worlds. It is a place of goodness and blessing too, as we have gone through one of the most really gritty astrological years, as well as just real life years. Last year was tough. Have a great day or life or universe, wherever you guys are. I'm signing off.